What's up guys, and welcome back to WSM Research. On this channel, we cover stocks that have the potential to bring asymmetric return profiles to your portfolio through growth and innovation. Before we get into the video, keep in mind that we are not financial advisors and this video is for entertainment purposes only. Make sure to do your own research and consult with a professional before making any investment decision. In today's video, we're going to cover a small company engaged in what they call psychedelic-inspired medicines. The company is called MindMed and trades on the Nasdaq under the ticker symbol MNMD. It has historically been a penny stock, but broke above the $1 mark late last year. After a huge breakout, it finished the year strong, reaching $5.50 a share. In the early part of 2021, it has been trading sideways, but recently jumped back above the $5 a share mark. We'll get into why exactly the stock jumped on that, but first we'll take a deeper dive into what the company does, how it makes money, and what its prospects are for the future. To understand the foundations of MindMed, we need to take a closer look at the broad-based problem facing America and other countries today. That multi-trillion-dollar problem is mental health. According to the official investor presentation, close to 300 million people are affected by anxiety globally, and about 16 million are ADHD sufferers. Additionally, with 300 million opioid prescriptions in the US, the opioid epidemic has come to a head. According to the US Department of Health and Human Services, more than 10 million people misused or abused prescription drugs in the last year, leading to 70,000 overdose deaths. Much of the drugs were opioids, including heroin. And it's only getting worse. 1.6 million people misused prescription drugs for the first time last year. At this alarming rate, the opioid epidemic is a very serious issue. And if that's not bad enough, the current solutions used to deal with the epidemic are not working at all. Only 36% of people with anxiety are estimated to actually seek treatment for it. Almost 9 out of 10 addicts relapse when certain traditional therapies are tapered, and a similar proportion of people with ADHD are not even receiving treatment. These are staggering numbers that go to show how much mental health is lagging behind other kinds of health in terms of awareness and treatment therapies. The reason for this is partly due to societal norms around mental disorders and public perception about addiction, depression, and ADHD. They are seen by many people historically as illnesses that don't necessarily demand the same level of research as far as developing treatments than other types of illnesses. They are considered in a different way than, for example, cancer or the flu, and have not gotten as much attention from researchers nor as much funding from scientific funding agencies. Additionally, mental health problems are very hard to treat. The brain is one of the most mysterious organs in the human body, and scientists still don't know much about how the brain works. Because mental health issues often stem from problems taking place in the brain, and the brain is very sensitive to foreign disturbances, brain treatments are often either ineffective or in some cases do much more harm than good. MindMed wants to bring a drastically new treatment paradigm into the norm with what they call hallucinogenic and non-hallucinogenic treatments. Both are based on LSD. There are two different types, one with microdosing, where the treatment is prescribed by a doctor and given to the patient at a pharmacy to be used at home. These treatments are derived from psychedelics but usually produce negligible hallucinogenic effects. They're supposed to be used for addiction therapy to help wean addicts off of their street drugs. The other kind is the higher dose of psychedelics given in clinic and overseen by a doctor and therapist. These treatments can be used for severe anxiety and cluster headaches and are described as experiential treatments. But MindMed isn't just some shack trying to find a way to legally use LSD. They're collaborating with doctors and PhDs all over the world, including university researchers engaged in doing clinical trials and research on psychedelics. They are currently undergoing trials with the FDA on LSD development and for studying the effects of microdosing. The idea behind their research is that eventually, by using their product, dopamine regulation within the human brain could be repaired in a drug addict, enabling a full recovery from addiction. Current treatments do not target dopamine regulation and instead pursue more of a treating the symptoms approach. By going for the root problem of addiction, MindMed is hoping to be able to completely eliminate the problem. Investors are starting to recognize the potential that MindMed has in becoming the next big biotech company to come up with a new novel drug. On April 23rd, they announced that they'd be listed on the Nasdaq, one of the major American stock exchanges. This catalyst boosted the stock from $2.50 a share to more than $6 a share in a matter of a day and a half. That's a 140% increase. As a result, their market cap has surged to $1.6 billion. They are still in the early stages of their financial life and first did a seed round in August of 2019 where they raised $6 million. They have since been able to raise a lot more money when needed from private investors, showing strong support from the private markets. Even Kevin O'Leary, famous for his role as an investor on Shark Tank, is actually an early investor in MindMed.
But now the promise of perhaps fixing huge problems like drug addiction, opioid addiction, alcoholism, depression, ADD, all of these metrics put into the basket of maybe what microdosing psychedelics could help. We found companies that have emerged. One of them is MindMed. Now, for full disclosure and transparency, I'm an investor in MindMed. It's the one I've chosen for a bunch of reasons we're going to find out today.
So the company has good backing from investors, but the basis of the future of the company is really dependent on proving that there is a legitimate use for psychedelic-based drugs. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence from places like Silicon Valley and other young areas of the country that microdoses of certain things can have positive effects on one's attention, mood, or possibly other things. The problem is that this is all only anecdotal, and very little is proven yet. In the first part of the 20th century, LSD was first invented by a scientist at what is now the drug company Novartis. It was even patented and investigated by multiple companies for potential use in human treatments. The US Army actually conducted tests on LSD in the 50s and 60s for possible value in use on soldiers. Among the purposes being investigated by these studies were treatments for things like depression and schizophrenia. However, they also often found severe and frequent side effects, and after the 60s, psychedelics were banned altogether. Since then, there has been a stigma against LSD as a very dangerous drug that is abused by addicts. This stigma is one of the main challenges facing MindMed today, but there are signs that society is becoming more open to the idea of investigating psychedelics for mental health treatments. In the past decade, due to increasing stress on public mental health, there has been a push for mental health awareness and normalization. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and many celebrities in recent years have come out in public to talk about their own struggles with mental health. For example, Kevin Love, a star basketball player who played alongside LeBron on the 2016 championship team, came out last year detailing his struggles with depression. When celebrities that people look up to start to bring awareness to mental health issues, it becomes more normalized, and people begin to look at new ways to go about addressing the problem. MindMed has to take it to the next level and normalize LSD treatments enough for a product to actually be approved. If they're able to do it, they could potentially open up a massive new total adjustable market that virtually didn't exist before, one worth potentially billions of dollars. The opioid epidemic has been estimated to cost the US $2.5 trillion over 4 years based on incarceration, loss of productivity, and medical expenses. Similarly, anxiety and other disorders are also estimated to cost more than $1 trillion in productivity. If MindMed can offer a solution or partial solution to these problems, it could potentially mean huge savings to individuals and even businesses, and large profits for MindMed. Because it is still in the very early stages, the company obviously doesn't have any sales yet. This is to be expected for a biotech startup. Especially when it comes to highly restricted drugs like LSD, you can expect there to be an immense amount of research and extensive testing before any product can actually be sold. Until then, they'll be making large losses due to the costs associated with R&D, running the company, and other things. Any investment in this type of company is a bet that they'll be able to get their product up and running sufficiently well enough for the FDA to approve it and start selling it. The good thing is that they currently have $80 million of cash on hand and only $2.3 million of total liabilities. Based on their cash flows, that alone should be enough to maintain them at last year's rate for another 3 years without having to raise additional capital. It's probably safe to say that MindMed is an extremely high-risk, high-reward play. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this video. If you like the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for future uploads. Also, if you have any thoughts on MindMed, let us know in the comments section below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. WSM Research, signing out.